In this video, I'm assuming you have some sort of vision or goal, and we're going to remove the psychological barriers that you have to getting there. And if you don't have a vision for what you want your life to look like, I'd suggest you look in the past at the most meaningful, impactful, engaging, joyful times in your life, and you try to find specifically what those things are, and then you try to mold them all into a creative vision, and that could be your vision. But that's for another video. Maybe you want to live in a cabin in Sedona with a handsome guy, 6'6", ex-fireman with a big beard and a scruffy face. And you want to live in this cabin, and you want to be able to kick back by the wood-burning fireplace and read the Harry Potter series on the sofa with your 6'6" ex-fireman guy. So let's just say that's your vision that would culminate your excitement and your dream life. Now that's not mine. I'm not saying that that's my vision, but just as an example, maybe that's your vision. How do we actualize that? How do we find what psychological barriers are between us and that vision? And actually, I'd suggest that there are a lot of psychological barriers for you even imagining what's possible for you. You probably can't even come up with the vision that would be the most amazing for yourself and everybody around you because you're tied down psychologically. But if you do have a vision, the psychological barriers between that vision and your current state that you're embodying right now, we're going to erase those with this exercise. So the first thing I want you to do is imagine the past and find some area in your life that you've improved in. And I think an easy one for all of us is financial, because for all of us or most of us, we had a time in our past, maybe we were kids, when we weren't making any sort of money. And then through certain decisions and activities, we're now making an income of some kind. And from our current state, looking to the past, remembering what it was like back there, we can clearly see all the decisions that led up to allowing us to be where we are currently. And we can see that route that we took and all the decisions that we made. And there are currently no psychological barriers for us to be the state that we're in. That's why we are in it, the current lifestyle that we're in. And it's important that you do this past recognition part, because the rest of this exercise is about putting your future in your past. So now we're going to switch it. Pretend this is your past, where you're sitting right now listening to my voice, and immerse yourself in your future. Now, how do you know what your future is going to look like? You get to pick. So you get to pick based on your vision. And if there are unfilled holes, just try and fill them in as best you can to get the most vivid lifestyle possible. And by imagining that future and being able to picture it in your mind as if it's real, which means you can sit there thinking, listening to my voice right now, you could think in that future lifestyle, what would I be concerned about? What would my experiences be? When would I be going to bed? When would I be waking up? And from that place of actually being able to think that way, you can look on your past, which aka really what's present now, and you can see the differences in lifestyle between then and now. Or, your imagined now and your real now. And the key to this is to be able to envision clearly what your future is. And the more clearly and repetitively you can imagine this and feel it, and feel the emotions behind it, and feel the texture behind it, the better this will work. Because it will engage your mind to erase the psychological boundaries. If it doesn't make sense, hold on, we're getting there. So I want you to just think very clearly. We're going back to our 6'6" fireman example. Here's what I would do in this example. So what are some things that would apply to that lifestyle if you're living in it? Maybe that sofa, that Montauk couch in the cabin in Sedona, you can feel what it feels like to sit on that couch. You can smell the wood-burning fire. You can feel the cool breeze coming in through the window and see the stars in the sky outside of it. You could hear the creaks in the wooden floorboards as your 6'6" retired fireman guy is coming in with a plate of chicken noodle soup, and you can smell the soup maybe too. And you're thinking, you're feeling so good, just ready to eat this chicken noodle soup, and look out at the stars together, and you can feel that emotion now. If you can do that, you're on the right track. That is good. Try to keep going and making it more and more vivid. What's going to happen is thinking like this starts to imply to your own mind that you got to this point somehow. This is a functional lifestyle somehow. This is working. And you'll be able to start to generate what your concerns might be at that time. So your concern might be, oh, okay, what hike are we going to go on tomorrow? So imagine yourself, what would that be like thinking that? So this is really the meat and bones of the exercise, is to be able to imagine that. And you'll notice it actually might be kind of difficult to imagine such a happy future because you have such a thick psychological boundary to actually being able to even feel or imagine what that would be like for you. And so if you can just repetitively ease yourself into it, maybe try doing this once a day, or if you have a meditation practice, do this on the tail end of the meditation practice, or instead of letting your mind wander before you go to bed, maybe you jump into your imagination right before bed. What you can do is now you have your future, your imagined future, which you're imagining as a present. Now, from that place, you can look back at where you currently are today, because what your today would be from that future perspective is your past. And just like you can look now at the past when you weren't making any money, for my earlier example, you can look at this past as some place you used to be, and that there's a clear set of decisions and opportunities that allowed you to get to where you were. So you might recognize, oh, I need to be open to meeting more people so that I can meet this 6'6" fireman guy. I need to be going to Sedona more often, and I'll be able to see a really good deal on a house. Or I need to travel into the mountains more often. And your mind will start to automatically see opportunities that will lead you to this future that you're imagining. Whereas before, those opportunities were not pointed out. They weren't showing up on your radar. Now they're showing up because those psychological boundaries are starting to come down. And the more vividly you can see the path between the future and the current, the imagined future and the current, and look at it from the future, the more your mind will be forced to look at things from that perspective, which is the perspective where there are no boundaries to that lifestyle. And it should have a tactile feel difference to where you currently are. And you'll notice that if you kept going the way you were going without having this vivid vision in your mind, you probably wouldn't have gone anywhere in your life. You probably would have been just kind of aimlessly going forward, and you wouldn't be able to direct your forces and see the opportunities to get you to a destination. Now, before we cut off here, I'm going to take this just one step further for you, make this even more powerful. This is like a double multiplier you can add onto the end of this to make it more powerful. Here's what you do. Imagine that imagined future, 6'6" ex-fireman in Sedona in this case. You're in that reality. You're feeling the emotions of that. You're bearing the fruit of that. It's wonderful. It's fulfilling. You're sharing that lifestyle with everybody. Whatever it is, that's great. There's a lot of juice there. Imagine your future scenario as if it was the past. And this isn't anything where you're trying to trick yourself. This is just a mental tool. You're just playing with your thoughts and your mind, okay? What I want you to do is take your imagined future and imbue that in your mind with that sense of memory. So take it and pretend and just try to feel it as if it happened already. Have that feeling of, wasn't it wonderful when I lived in Sedona with that 6'6" fireman and we made chicken noodle soup and got Chipotle every day and we hiked in the mountains? Wow, what a great time. And just celebrate it as if it was a memory. And again, you're not trying to trick yourself here. You're just using your mind in a way that forces it to lower the psychological boundaries to this being a part of your actual reality in life. And so by doing this, you're just basically saging your mind. You're just purging it out of all the limitations that you couldn't have this lifestyle, because you can feel it working. You can feel it being a functional lifestyle for you. You can feel it as a memory that it already happened and it was great. And by doing this, you now open up a large availability for you so that you can go do it without providing extra friction on yourself. And you're saving time here. That's really the main point. Because you could probably do this anyway with those psychological barriers in place, but it would just cause a lot more friction. I want to give a couple disclaimers with this exercise. Before you run off into the woods naked trying to do this, I want to give a couple disclaimers. Disclaimer one is that you might not get the exact result of what your vision is. And that's because the exercise is meant to remove psychological blockages that you have from a certain reality. Removing these blockages doesn't mean that your life is going to turn into exactly what that looks like. But what it does mean is that those higher values that you resonate with, that are represented in your vision, you're opening yourself up to having a life that represents those. So you're opening your mind up to living in a better way, and you're removing resistance from yourself, removing resistance from your mind. So most likely what's going to happen is it's going to allow you to come into a reality which is similar, but has that same feel that you want your meaningful vision to have. Second disclaimer is that you shouldn't do this thinking that it's going to make you happy, because arriving somewhere and changing your external circumstances don't contribute to that core happiness. That inner void that we all have can't be filled by circumstances. That's a different topic. But that doesn't mean that if you're being called to live this wonderful experience and be able to share it with people that you're imagining, that you can't do it. I think you absolutely still should, and I hope it happens for you. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.